Hello everyone, this video presentation is on the case study on a contract manufacturing company which manufactures cell phones. They are well known for their quality of products and speed. Organization was strictly in terms of their rules and regulations. Employees are prompt to follow those rules and regulations strictly. After reading over the case, we rectify some bottom line problems, which were firstly the environment was not friendly for the workers. The hierarchy was one of the spoiling factor of environment, and the dissatisfaction of workers on the TQC, which is the total quality control chart, which was made by engineers who have never worked in production line. Precision Electrotechs had that TQC for the workers to follow in order to complete a specific task. Workers were not satisfied with the TQC, and there were workers who have better ways to perform their tasks efficiently, but due to less control over the working process, laborers were never involved in suggesting any improvement. We are going to recommend possible solutions to Precision Electrotechs in order to implement those increases in performance and productivity.
From reading the case study, we can determine that there are two key problems with how Precision Electrotech conducts its business practices. The first problem involves the use of TQCs in the production process. Employees were told by their original training session that they should follow the TQC standards that engineers hired by Precision Electrotech had set out. But once they got onto the factory floor, they were told by supervisors to do it a different way, a way that was actually faster than TQC had indicated it be done. The engineers that wrote the TQC had never worked on a factory floor and were not aware of the pressure and pace that factory workers had to conduct their work at. How the work was actually conducted on the factory floor was never shared with the upper management, who believed that the workers were following the TQC guidelines. The lack of communication between upper management and the factory workers resulted in Jai Ling getting into trouble despite the work process not even being her idea and the new process actually being a more efficient way of operating on the factory floor. After careful observation, the engineers concluded that the way the factory workers were conducting themselves was better than the process laid out in the TQC.
One of the recommendations we may recommend that may increase Precision Electrotech's performance and repair relations between employees and employers is by becoming a firm that does not rely on a TQC, rules and regulations. Rules and regulations that are not used in moderation may only cause a firm's performance to decrease, as it will affect employees' motivation to work within. In the long run, employees may feel as less eager to accomplish the firm's goals because they may feel that they have no control over their working habits. In order to increase performance, minimizing rules is essential. Rules ought to be only employed as a way to regulate employees' safety when working. Minimizing rules allows employees to feel independent. An employee's independence to work freely is one of the keys to being an energized worker because they will feel more engaged. Hence, they will feel that the company's goals are easier to accomplish because they know their own strengths and weaknesses, thus deciding what to do and when to do so accordingly, so that their strengths are used more often as a way to meet the company's standards. Not only does this allow employees to feel more independent, but it allows employees that have reached the company's standards to feel accomplished, which makes it easier for employers to physically recognize employees that are consistently achieving the firm's goals. Therefore, may praise employees and encourage the ones that are not meeting standards. In addition to reducing rules and regulations, it is vital that a company focuses on achieving goals rather than how they achieve their goals, thus having an outcome-oriented culture. An example of this strategy being used within a firm is Best Buy. Employees within Best Buy are mentored to sell products effectively, and they learn how much profit the firm has gained throughout the day. Instead of being trained to sell products, employees at Precision Electrotech may be given tips and tricks to work efficiently, and at the end of the day, employers may present how many mobile phones were produced as a way to present results.
Precision Electrotech, though uses machines to facilitate many tasks, manual labor is still required for numerous tasks. With the use of an assembly line on their manufacturing floors, Precision focuses on specification to ensure no time loss. However, workers are working on the same monotonous action all day long with very little break. For example, we know that from this case study, Jay Liang a direct labor worker had an assigned task, which was to place a barcode sticker on a metal shield, place the shield over a part of the phone circuit board, and then scan the barcode into the computer, and that's what she did the entire shift. Precision also lacks incentives, in a sense where it's hard to move up in a position or even just change tasks within the assembly line, and there is not too much motivation for the job. A survey showed that approximately 32% of direct labor workers primarily valued training as a motivation to stay at Electrotech, and conversely, 21% primarily valued a promotion. The study shows that these workers don't like standing in the same spot without any hopes of ever moving.
As demonstrated, the current workplace environment is extremely repetitive and lacks incentives. Performing the same task repetitively for hours will eventually burn all employees out. It isn't a surprise that many employees don't see a future within the company. The most logical solution is to introduce job rotation. This would include employees rotating tasks in an attempt to minimize the mental and physical burnout. Training would be provided to the employees of a different task than they currently work. Switching tasks every 2 hours in an 8-hour shift would substantially decrease the mental stress. By introducing change, it gives the employees something new and a reason to brighten up the workplace environment. A second recommendation would be to increase the amount of incentives within the organization. For the bottom of the food chain, in this case being the direct laborers, there's not much motivation to go beyond measures. By increasing some internal promotions and rewards, it could potentially spark some of the direct laborers and motivate them to increase their performance. If an employee sees a coworker getting bumped up into a new role or a raise, it would most definitely motivate the current employee. Again, by seeing a future within the company, this could also increase the length of the average stay, which would minimize the time and costs of hiring. Another potential incentive stated in the report would be English lessons for the workers. Within the case, it was stated many direct laborers were interested in learning the language. The recommendations suggested could substantially help Precision's current work environment. Although the implementation isn't necessarily quick and might not have rapid results, in the long run, it would be in the company's best interest.
By the time a year has passed, we should see overall improvements in workplace performance and productivity. Our policies promoting within will be firmly in place. This will lower employee turnover due to increased happiness, and they will look inside the company for a new job rather than outside of the company. We will continue to have one-on-one meetings with employees. This will remove the diffusion of responsibility by being one-on-one rather than in groups. This will allow employees to say exactly what they believe without any consequence from managers or any other people that they may be afraid to talk around. By now, we should have a much more open and dynamic work environment, which promotes positivity rather than negativity, as we have shown in the case. The job characteristics model, which we have used, should have provided a more welcome environment, and through our changes by this point, the environment should be much more positive, foster for much more innovation, rather than the negativity that was there before.